here I will depend your understanding about Dart class constructor and what is positional parameters, positional named parameters, and positional optional parameter. Now here I have this class I've created, and then it has two fields, name and age, and this is the constructor. Now this constructor I will use to instantiate an object which is person type. Now as you see over here, as I'm creating or calling this constructor, now I'm passing the name and the age. Now we created an object from it, so we'll go ahead and print name value from it. So here we do print person.name. Let's print it, and here we'll see that it printed Ahmed over here. Now let's do one interesting thing. Let's take this, cut this, and put it over here. Now we'll see that we have an error. If you hover over on it, it will say that argument string type cannot be assigned to parameter type int over here. Now this order has to be maintained. Now here this is name, so name is the first argument, so we should have name here, and then it's age, so age should go later. So this kind of order is called positional named parameter, okay, or positional parameters, actually not named, positional parameters. So as you call the constructor, the order has to be maintained, otherwise it will get error. Now what if I want to send optional parameters? Yes, we could do that. Like right over here, we could do add a new field, and we'll call it string address. Now this could be optional. Now in this case, all we need to do here, put this third brackets, and we do this dot address, and then we need to give a default value. So here we'll give default value as China. Now this type of constructor is called positional optional parameters. So this is positional optional. Why? Because we are maintaining the position, and here I do have an optional field. I could send this, I may not send this. So let's go ahead and run it, and it would still work. Now we can print age from it. So let's take a look. Age. Even we can print address from it. So here we'll see that it printed China. Now this is optional, but if you want, you can pass a new value to it. So here I would say Shanghai. Now let's save it and run it, and here we'll see that it printed Shanghai. Now for this positional parameters, like over here, this is optional positional parameter. Now if you don't want to give a default value over here, you can skip that one as well, and in that case you need to make it nullable. You need to let the compiler know that this may be null. Now let's go ahead and run it. So here we see that it printed null. So the basic idea is, as you call the constructor within the first braces over here, and we order the maintain, these are called positional parameters. With positional parameters, you can have an optional one. The optional one might have a default value, or it might not have a default value. If it doesn't have a default value, you need to make the type nullable. Okay, now let's take a look at another example. So here we have this animal class. Now inside this animal class, we have this two fields in the constructor. Now definitely we'll go ahead and create a new object. So now here we'll see that we are printing null. Now null is of course coming from the first one, and the second one is a type, which is mammal. Now of course so for this section and this section, they look pretty much the same. Now just now we have seen that here we have positional optional parameters. Now we can define something called positional named parameters. So for this reason, first here we'll create another variable type and we'll call it color. Now the color itself, we name it as a named. Why? Okay, the first thing we have to wrap it around the second curly braces, and here we do this dot color. Now here we'll give it a default value. So default value, say black. Now this second curly braces makes it optional named parameter. Now let me come over here and remove this section. Now right over here we want to send a color, but in this case, so we have to do it like this, color. Now if we want to assign the color over here, if we just directly do like black over here, and we'll get an error. Why? Because the name is not there, so you have to mention the name. So the name should be color. Now this is called positional named parameter, because as we call the constructor, we are mentioning the variable name. The variable name is color over here. So let's go ahead and run it. We do see that mammal, but now of course this was default value. So as we call the constructor, we can change the color name, and over here we'll see that it reflects. So here we do color. So it's gray. Now here just one field is optional named parameter, but we can add more fields to it. For example, if you want to do like this, that age should be optional as well. Now in that case, we can give it a default value. Now if you come over here, we see that we have an error. So here we would do age. Now here we'll print age. Now instead of 10, maybe we could give it 12. Now let's print it. Okay, great. Now we see 12. Now one cool thing about optional named parameter is that you can change the order of them. It doesn't really matter. You can put them in any order. Unlike just positional parameters, you can't change the order. So even if we change the order and try to print it, we see the same thing, no errors. We can also type anything else if we want. So let's go ahead and see that. So the type is working. So the idea is when you have inside curly braces, the third curly braces, these are called named optional parameters. And the one that is inside third braces, that's called positional parameters or positional optional parameters, because this is optional. Well, this is optional as well. How we can prove that? Actually, we can remove all of this. So let's go ahead and run it one more time and we'll see everything still works. All right, so the type is mammal. So anyway, so that's how you work with positional named parameters, positional optional parameters. Thank you.